I am from the Institute for Children, Youth and Mission. We provide training for children's workers, youth workers, community workers, chaplains and families workers at different levels and stages. So we've been around for 20 years. And we're at the moment based in Nottingham. We're about to move to Leicester this year. Ebony is one of our students. There's a number of graduates at different levels around and people who've been involved. Got a stall in the marketplace if you want to know more. You can do the clever QR thing, I think. That links you through, might not. I did my degree with CYM 15 years ago. We were talking about how old am I. You know that line thing that you have to put on? Well, I lied about my age, which then made putting the middle year very difficult. Because then I was like, oh, I don't know what half of my age is. And they're going, oh, I've just killed one of my children because I put my age younger than when I had my last child. So
I thought you were that age.
Yeah, Ebony thought she was that age. Bless her. She's just got an A for the next assignment. So I live in Nottinghamshire. I've got 4 children. My youngest is 4, an 11-year-old, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. So I am in that wonderful place of not only having a background in youth and community work, but living with teenagers and pre-teens and a toddler, or just coming out of toddler, in my house every day, and discovering the joys of the dinner table and asking a question and just hearing a grunt that I have no idea what that's supposed to be. What? Oh, I made the wrong assumption yet again. So I didn't.
You should just ask if it's a yes grunt or a no grunt.
Oh,
that clarifies it.
Oh, I just move your head. I don't know what you're saying. Use, yeah, we are the downstairs hall. There's a space here, or I can move some of my stuff. So I did my degree 15 years ago in youth and community work. But I've been doing youth work youth and children's work for over half my life. I really will need to move on.
So that's only Sean, he'll sit on the floor.
I will if you want me to.
Yeah.
Carry on, Sean.
Oh, sorry. You need a leg. You don't necessarily need it, but you might. And my background ranges from rural little village in Derbyshire through to working with gangs in LA. In 2009, my family and I went out to Albania as missionaries, and we sent a percent of children and young people out there. So doing cross-cultural children and youth work. You've not come for a seat, have you?
No.
And came back from Albania after 6 years in 2015. Had our 4th and very, very last child. And have been working for CYM since she was 6 weeks old. So, yeah, I'm a superhero. But love my job because I believe in training and equipping young people to work with children, young people, and within the church. And being able to walk that journey with people and see so many times writing assignments or feeling like, I can't possibly do this, and then coming to their graduation and seeing the total transformation in who they are, but knowing the lives that they've touched as well is just such an honour and a privilege. So that's who I am. We've got a very short time to look at a massive topic, so our students do 3 years on this, and then you can go on and do a master's and do another 3 years, and then you can go on and do a doctorate, and still only touch the surface. What is youth work? So, if I could invite you to come and get one of these envelopes, you need to take one carefully, because they aren't sealed. You know, coronavirus and everything, I didn't want to lick them. So, come on, grab an envelope. They're all the same. Well, similar. Everybody got one? Okay. Sorry if I did go, I was talking to Ebony earlier and went, what if everybody's expecting to come to a seminar where you just sit and listen to somebody? And I don't really teach like that, I don't live my life like that, so sorry, but you're stuck in here for an hour. You've got, in your little envelope, 6 pieces of Lego, and I would love for you to make a duck, or a duck, depending where you come from. You've got 1 minute. There are no other rules, but don't look at everybody else's. Do your own duck. And the timer has started. Remember, no cheating, don't look at anybody else's. Sorry if you hate Lego. I'm very sorry. Yeah, you hate ducks, that's easy. I just smashed it up. I love that. That is obeying rules and keeping it secret. We're up to, oh, we've still got it. That's a long time, isn't it, to make a duck? No peeking, no. Make alterations. 15. If you're beginning to panic, you should be. That was a great. I wish I could have just captured that. A session with Lucy. Oh, stop. Okay, you can now hold up your duck. What do you notice about the ducks in the room?
Mine's the best.
How did you say mine's the best? I was going to say like. Has anybody got, just listen quickly, has anybody got a duck exactly the same as another person's? I know you perhaps can't see it.
That's the same as ours. Sort of similar.
No, you've got a four big, not too big. It's quite amazing, isn't it? Like, it's a duck. It's 6 pieces of Lego. It's quite amazing, but with 6 pieces of Lego, you can make this many combinations. I think this is how it is, but I'm not going to put this. I've told you earlier with that line. 915 million. 103,765 combinations out of 6 pieces of Lego. That's incredible, isn't it? Million out of 6 pieces of Lego. That's the possibilities. So you all had the same 6 pieces of Lego, and yet we've created something different. And I could stop there, but I'll probably get into trouble, because that's the secret of youth work. Okay, lunchtime, somebody's out. You might come from a massive youth ministry with 60, 70, 80, hundreds of young people. You might come from a small youth ministry with 2, 3, 5. You might come from somewhere with none but desperate to see something happen. This is a possibility with 6 pieces of Lego. If you only had 4, there's still the possibility of millions of outcomes. Don't think my ministry is too small. What I'm doing is too small. There are millions of possibilities with what you're doing. I'm sure if you are Church of England, I'm not. Don't hold that against me. The Church of England's just put out, had their General Synod, and had the paper that said 38% of churches have no 0 to 16-year-olds, and 68% have 5 or fewer. So that's the Church of England. So I have to read this bit because it's figures. The Methodist Church, positively reported in 2018, they have 162,000 visits to activities involving children and young people. Which I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? But they end their report, it's only a 2-page document, saying the majority of current members are retirement age. The Baptist Church recorded over 92,000 children and young people within their churches. But that's declined 40,000 in the past 20 years. It's quite depressing, isn't it? But actually, most of these figures were taken on a Sunday attendance. And the truth is, a lot of our young people might not be there on a Sunday, but that doesn't mean they're not part of the church family. Doesn't mean that young person that you meet up with in the mentoring project isn't as important a part of the church family and belonging as somebody who comes and sits on a pew on a Sunday, or a comfy seat, as we now have in some places. So, whilst the statistics are a little bit depressing, it equally isn't the whole picture, because there is some amazing, incredible work with young people going off in such a range of settings, and I'm sure you are all part of that with stories of what you've seen or heard. Just listening this morning, it's so encouraging to hear people's ideas and thoughts, but it's not enough, because for me, my passion is for anybody to know God, to learn that transforming power of God in our lives, and to be living and working in that. And for me, that's kind of what's really important. So, I don't know if this is your reality. Like I say, my 4 children, it's really easy to find Lego. You take your shoes off and you walk into a room, and there is nothing as painful as a piece of Lego. I'm sure there is. But at the time it doesn't feel like it. It really hurts. Under your foot, you find that piece of Lego, like, hopping around the room and everything. Lego's easy to find if you're looking for it. But what about young people? I was recently involved in a conversation where somebody said, I don't know where the young people are in my town. How am I supposed to find them? I've walked around a bit and I can't see them and I don't know where they are. Would it be okay to send a drone around the town and try and identify where they are? It'd save me loads of time walking around the streets for no purpose. I could send a drone and identify them. Nigel's nodding his head, but I don't think ethically it is okay. I think there's lots of issues about drone laws and all of that. But the idea is not necessarily, the basis of the idea isn't necessarily a bad thing. Matthew 28, Jesus said, go out into all the world. If the young people aren't coming into our churches, well, let's go where they are. I love those, the whole talk this morning was really good. I love the short stories and hearing different places, going into schools and mentoring people. You know, setting up a Christmas tree project and getting people engaged in some way in the church, doing things that make a difference by going to where people are. I was talking to my no better adverts than my own children to ask, right, so I'm doing this seminar on youth work. What do you think is, like, where should we be doing youth work? What would be a good youth work project? So my eldest 2 are boys, and the 15-year-old said a football project. And the 17-year-old, who is very much involved in football, went, oh no, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. And my husband, who's an FA qualified coach, was like, oh, well, we already do that. Different ideas and different views. But there's something about football that engages a lot of people. Nothing simpler than going to your local park with a football and joining in or starting a kickabout. Sorry, now you're right on the edge, you can read it somewhere else. It's a really, really simple idea. It doesn't really cost very much. But it's a way to meet young people and to begin to build that relationship with them. I was talking to somebody else, and talking about where are young people? Well, it depends where you live, but local shops, there's usually young people hanging around local shops or takeaways. Why not do a takeaway survey with a group of young people and say, oh, say it's a chip shop, I don't know, we've got loads of takeaways in our little town. Going, right, I don't know if you want to play this game with me, but every Tuesday for the next few weeks we're doing a little takeaway survey. I'll pay for you to get a takeaway. We'll judge which one's the best, and at the end of 6 weeks we'll give that place a certificate as voted for the best takeaway by the young people of whatever town you are. It costs a little bit of money for a takeaway, maybe not great on healthy eating, but there's not that many young people who are going to turn down a free takeaway. And you get to chat to them, you get to talk to them, you get to be involved in their lives. Talking to somebody else and he said, yeah, but I don't think there are really, we haven't got that many takeaways where I live, and I just don't know where the young people are. I went, what about schools? And he went, well, all the kids catch buses, the schools are out of our village where I'm working, or out of our estate, and everybody kind of catches a bus to go out to school. That's great. What do you mean that's great? I'd really like to go into schools and do some schools work. I went, no. Why don't you get a flask with some hot chocolate in it, go to the bus stop in the morning and hand out hot chocolate? If they're stood waiting for a bus. Yeah.
I just want to share that our youth intern Brandon, he started when in his training he came to a point where he can start something. So he started the football club.
Yeah.
But because the weather was like that in September, October, and it was winter, so but then they move on to hot chocolates.
Yeah.
And it was their outreach program, and it's a success. And the children who are having a chat with them, having a hot chocolate to the school, to their homes, because they put the table on a ground in the secondary school. So through that hot chocolate outreach chat and things like that, now we have some new young children coming to our youth group. So it's a good start.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because actually, rather than going, oh, I'm an adult, I know what these young people want, it's an opportunity to go, would you like a hot chocolate? Begin to chat and say, what would you like? Would they like a youth centre, a youth club to come to? Because actually, maybe they don't. A long time ago, when I was doing detached youth work, Nigel was around in those days with me, we went to the local skate park and did hot chocolates with them. And they didn't want a youth centre, they didn't want to come into the building. They loved the skate park, they loved hanging out there. And we built relationships there. And so some of it is thinking creatively about how can you connect with young people and start those conversations to find out what do they want. Because ultimately it's not about what we want or what a leadership team or a PCC or anybody else thinks. It's about finding out what do young people really want and how can we be part of that. Ole Kirk Christensen created some wooden blocks in 1932 in his little carpentry shop. 17 years later, those wooden blocks turned into plastic interlocking blocks. They weren't very popular because people preferred wooden toys. 17 years he'd been making these things out of wood. Finally gets them into plastic that's easier to produce, and they weren't very popular. But he kept going. And in 1958, 26 years after the original idea, the Lego block design was patented and the pieces were produced. There's now over 400 billion blocks, which is enough for 60 blocks for every single person in the world. I think I've probably got a monopoly on some of them. But from this little carpenter shop, this man with an idea, he persisted and he kept going and he created something that made a huge difference. And I think one of the keys to youth work is that persistence and that journey and working and walking with people. My 4-year-old started school this year, and she made a few little friends, and 2 of her friends go to dance class, so I was talking to their mums and we were laughing about the horrors of the dance show. And one of the little girls, her dad came only a couple of times to pick her up because he's normally at work. And just before Christmas, the last day before they broke up for Christmas, he said, he waited for me at the gate and he said, "Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?" So I'm like, "Yeah, of course you can." And we'd had loads of like jokes and stuff when I'd seen him, but I didn't know him that well. So I was a bit like, what question is he going to ask me? He said, "Did you used to run the youth club?" And then, "Oh, for heaven's sake, don't tell me." It was like, "I used to go to that youth club. I used to go to that." "Oh, that's how old I am. Your daughter is in school with my daughter, and I used to run the youth club that you went to." That's how old I am. But he started to tell me about his memory of the youth club and his friends, and how he still got some of those friends, but actually how the youth club was a safe place for him. He said, "I didn't have the best time at school, and sometimes life was really hard, but I loved coming to the youth club because it felt like a safe place, and it was always like a really nice environment, and there was something different about it." He didn't have God words for it, but there was something different about it, and that had been really important to him in growing up. And another mum was walking down the pathway with me, and she went, "You used to run that youth club, didn't you?" I went, "Oh no, this is a nightmare." Yes, I did, and their children are actually older than my youngest. And she was telling me the same thing. She went, "Oh, I used to love coming there." She said every Thursday night I'd come with my friends and we'd just hang out at the youth club. It wasn't a Christian youth club. I haven't got amazing stories of salvation from that situation. But I do have a story about persistence and walking with people and alongside people. And I could tell you the stories where people have come to faith or have begun a faith journey with God. But it's through walking with them. If you're looking for quick solutions, that's not really, for me, what youth work is about. We're not here just to kind of go, "Hi, I'm wonderful. Do you believe in Jesus? Right, that's great. Let me give you this track." Done. My job's done. Because youth work is about being involved in people's lives. So what I'd love for you to do now is, I've gone to a lot of trouble over this. Me and my son yesterday were going through our massive Lego box. I've got a whole load of different characters in here. Come and have a look, pick out a character that you can in some way relate to you. You might want to take a handful and then pick one out of those. If you want to put your ducks back in Mum, what's in this?
Oh, that's obviously me.
Oh, across the street.
It's not illegal.
There are, I didn't discover how many Lego machines. A ridiculous number of strong characters.
Got the CYM hashtag and joined up conference.
I'm sorry.
About as obvious as that is you. Yes.
I nearly said it was like a school roaster. One goes in a roaster.
I had 2 conferences in one day.
Yeah. And just swap the head. You can just swap the head.
Yeah, like a pencil.
Don't worry about it.
I was Oh, that's what's in there. Wait.
Do you want a jacket? I know, no, I only know because
You want to just chat with somebody near to you about why you chose the person you chose or what you think about it? While you're doing that, or after you've done that, you should have one of those little yellow Lego pieces, people. What I'd love for you to do is to write on that something that you think is special that makes you you. A characteristic, it could be anything about yourself that you think, actually, that's really important. There's something about you that makes you you that's important. Sorry. I have got some pencils here if anybody needs one.
You are
I'm humble.
spectacularly humble.
Humblest person ever.
Oh, we might be one word, I might be able to consistently.
Just blinded myself with that light. That was a really bad move.
That's what she calls me. Oh, so embarrassing.
When we're doing youth work, I think one of the key things is authenticity and being you. Psalm 139 talks about how we have been marvellously, wonderfully made. We're unique. The big challenge for young people is identity, finding out who they are, working their way through those different values, maybe pushing boundaries, maybe causing a bit of disruption, sometimes sitting and wanting to reflect quietly. How can we tell young people who you are is amazing and to help them to find their self if we don't recognise who we are? I was talking to a group this week about, and they were talking about TikTok dancers. So TikTok is an app, loads of young people are on it. There's lots of discussion about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And I went, I'm going to learn a TikTok dance for Saturday. And my boys went, oh, Mum, don't bother. No, that's not you. When we were just joking about it, I was trying to get Lois to come up and do a TikTok dance. She does know some TikTok dances. Ebony refused, point blank, because I'm too busy studying to have time to learn TikTok dances.
I'm not doing
Well, you just have to. But it's not me. I love to embarrass my kids in loads of ways, but right now I'm not up to TikTok dancers. I can pretend. But you know what? There's enough about me, who I am, that I can share who I am, rather than pretending to be who I'm not. And hopefully you all could recognise something about yourself. And you might go, I'm not sure that's necessarily a positive. But God has made us unique, wonderfully. You are important. And if God has given you the honour of being involved in some way in somebody's life, it's a bit like this morning, the importance of stories. You're not too old, you're not too young, you're not too inexperienced, you're not too serious, you're not too noisy, you're not too quiet. Because I see all of those. And I hear every time a discussion about somebody saying, oh, I wish I was more. And we've got so many of those kind of annoying, stereotypical youth workers that people think have got to be. That's not necessarily who young people want or need. I hear an 18-year-old saying, I wish I was older because my church doesn't respect me as a youth worker. And I hear 40-year-olds saying, I wish I was younger because I go for a job and I don't get a position because I'm too old. I hear extroverts going and saying, I'm really struggling because I can't connect with some of the young people because they just want to be quiet. And I hear introverts who say, nobody thinks I'm any good at youth work because I really love just getting alongside one or two rather than a massive group. We are unique and individual. We are working with unique individuals. Please, 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 if you don't take anything else away from this lecture than anything else, take away how important you are. And don't let other people say you shouldn't be doing youth work, or you're not good enough, or think yourself you're not good enough because of anything that anybody else thinks. You are incredible. You are important. You are a key person in building something into somebody's life if you're willing to give yourself. Ali Campbell said, young people can easily spot a fraud. It's much more attractive to be yourself. Go for making meaningful, honest relationships with young people over a big and a brash show. We can't entertain young people into the kingdom. And from my oldest two, my eldest son loves big church, bright lights, loud music. He connects with God in that. My 15-year-old, we said we were moving churches because we were moving lots of things, and said to him, what church do you want to go to? And gave an option of these big churches near to us and said, we'll take you, if that's what church, we'll take you and we'll make that work for us as a family. And he went, no, I like going to the church we're going to. It's a little Baptist church with maybe 30 people in it and 3 young people and 2 children in the children's work, and they're mine. It's small, but he absolutely loves it there because he finds something authentic. If you come from a big mega church, that's fantastic. I am not knocking that. Because for some young people, that's how they engage. They love it. They love the vibe and, the idea of the summer festivals where you've got that big vibe and a group and the power of numbers. But if you're only from a small place, don't think that that doesn't attract young people. There's lots of kind of recognition that cathedrals, without the helter-skelters and dodgems and everything else that they had, and crazy golf courses that they had last summer, actually, young people are connecting with cathedrals, whether they've got any faith or not. The number of students, particularly, who are going to cathedrals and just sitting. And it's connected to the whole idea about mindfulness and being still. But for so many people in the busyness of life, there's such sanctuary in the stillness. Or stillness in the sanctuary works as well. Don't think you've got to put on a big show. It is about walking alongside people, connecting with young people in the long run. However, so what do we do? My friend was telling me about Clash of Clans. I don't have this on my phone. But she was saying she'd got Clash of Clans on her phone. I don't know all the details of it, so I'm going to be authentic and not pretend that I do. But apparently you set up a clan, and people can join it, and you play this game. And she did it, and she was playing it with her sons. So they formed this clan, and then the sons had got some friends from church involved as well. And then some of the parents of the children from church have got on. So they've got this clan going. But there's also people from outside who can join the clan. You don't necessarily know that you all know each other, but they can join the clan and play the game with them. And I went, oh, that's amazing, isn't it? She went, what? I went, that's like intergenerational ministry. Because actually, I mean, it's outreach and everything. You've got people who you don't know becoming a part of your little clan. You're playing this game, they're chatting together, and she said, the weirdest thing is, it's the teenagers who kind of control the group. So if anybody says any bad language or anything, they kick them out of the group. And they'll say, like, can I come back? Can I come back? And they go, no, you can't, because your language wasn't okay. And she said, it's not the adults who are doing it, it's the young people, the teenagers, who are kind of controlling the group and saying what's unacceptable behaviour. So if somebody calls somebody a name, they're out of the group. But they've just developed this little game, but through that built a fellowship, a community, an online presence with each other, having fun, but equally developing something deeper. So they might start off talking about a game, but again, it's that sharing of life with each other. Onto TikTok again, you're going to think I'm obsessed with TikTok. I'm not, I think it's awful. I am way too old for it. I opened it up and went, oh, this is just stupid kids doing stupid things and it's just annoying. It's just not funny. Oh, look, I've tripped over. You did that on purpose. Anyway, but TikTok, a much younger person than me, was saying in his group, all the kids are on TikTok. And so what they did was, they have a home group for their young people. What they did, through the week, they all make a TikTok video. They compile them all into like a presentation for the night that they do the home group. I think it was a Tuesday. And then they show them at the home group, and they vote on which one's the best. And they become like TikTok video for the week, which is apparently a great thing to do. Okay. But he said it's incredible because like people are making these videos, and sometimes they're God-based ones, sometimes they're just silly ones, sometimes they're dancers. But again, it builds that idea of community, of being together, of connecting with each other in another realm apart from reality. What I'd like you to do now, because I've talked way too much, is to get your ducks again.
Have you put them back?
Oh, in the box? You put them back. Oh, you're very good. I just might put them back in the envelope. I'm not very good with words. I'm going to drop more things. Well, you can come get another bag of ducks. Who needs a duck? Oh my goodness! Remember, I've got children. I'm not used to people listening to what I say and doing it.
No, Lego friends. I'm not that bold.
Oh, bless you.
Buzz is better though. How old are you?
I am that old, Nigel. You know how old I am. So what I'd like you to do with your ducks, that is amazing, is to get with a few people around you and to make it, put together and to make something else. Together. Who else needed a duck over here? This is the non-compliant area, isn't it? None of you were like, can't bother to get up all the way over here and look. Back row people, they walked all the way around. Okay, so some of you have managed to create something that incorporates ducks because we were upset about getting rid of the ducks. Maybe dragons. Do you want to play? One of the things is that as youth work, we aren't an island. When we're doing youth work, there isn't just us. And sometimes it's really important to recognise other people involved in young people's lives or other agencies around us, other people who are working with young people. I think the guy who led worship this morning said about it's not about building my kingdom. Like, it doesn't matter to me if young people come to my church, your church, anybody else's church. If they come to faith and get to know Jesus and are transformed, I don't care where they develop that discipleship lifestyle. If I can carry on being a part of it, I would love to be. But if they become part of something else and somewhere else and they take them and nurture them, that's awesome. If they have needs, I am not a mental health expert. Talk to Timmy Anson, he's amazing. You obviously didn't like him though, because I think he's running a seminar at the same time. But he's amazing. Signpost them to people who know what they're doing better than you do. It's not a failure to you. That's part of walking that journey with young people. When we left Albania, we were closing our centre. We kind of had a little 6 months left that we paid for other people to keep it going. But it was really important that we found places for the young people who'd come to faith with us, who we discipled, who were wanting to live a life for God, to help them find somewhere else to belong. And that was kind of our main project, probably for the last 8 months of our time there, connecting them in with other people who would walk beside them, who knew and could be that person. And that was forced upon us. But equally, in other ministry work I've done, I say that all the time. It's part of who we are. And actually, it's not that our duck becomes less by adding it to something else. It might look totally different. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So finally, because I'm really almost out of time, I love this quote. Sorry, I don't know why that bar thing's at the bottom. Rubbish on technology. Vincent Donovan, Christianity Rediscovered, said, "In working with young people, do not try to call them back to where they were, and do not call them to where you are, as beautiful a place as that may seem to you. You must have the courage to go with them to a place that neither you nor they have ever been before." So much of what I believe youth work about is that personal journey with people, whether that's a group of 12, a group of 30, 1 or 2, journeying with people, walking beside them through the good times and the bad times, letting them know that you're there, thinking creatively and not being afraid to go to new places. So I've got a few little goodies for you because I'm lovely like that. Got these little butterfly lollies that say "Dreaming of Change." I would love for you to come and take one of these lollies and to think about what change are you thinking for or dreaming of. Got some lovely little confetti bags. They are and then a selection of cards. If you want to take one of those that you think, oh, I could do with that, I could do with putting that up or putting it in my notebook or putting it in my Bible, please come and take all of those. But please don't take my Lego ducks or people. So I'm doing a very good swap. You can pop the Lego people back in that box and put the Lego pieces, oh, you've all made mental things, I mean, just the Lego pieces back in there. They don't have to look like ducks again unless you're very clever with 6 pieces. And thank you for listening. If you want to chat more about what we do at CYM, we're downstairs. If you want to use the hand stuff for the coronavirus, you can do that.